Alright, welcome back everybody! So previously we talked about rooms and all the different rooms that we can have. Since then I've gone through most of these rooms and made sure they all have the necessary jigsaw blocks in order to generate, which means most of those puppy dogs are complete. Now I will say that I don't think I have every single room created that we'll use in the game, but I do think we have enough to get a decent start from. So I do want to talk about how we use jigsaw blocks in generating the structures. And the stuff we're going to cover in today's episode will build on top of what we talked about last episode. So if you haven't seen that, definitely make sure to go watch it. And just keep in mind that this is all part of a bigger picture here. So some things that we talk about may not make sense immediately, but as we keep going, things should start to sink in, and I'll try to explain things enough but without going off on a tangent. So yeah, to begin, we will have a jigsaw block somewhere, right? So I've got this guy right here as an example, and so when we generate from this jigsaw block, we're just going to pull from a target pool. And remember, target pools are just a JSON file that hold a list of structures that we can generate. Now each structure that we put in this template pool needs to have a jigsaw block somewhere in the structure that will be connected to this guy right here. Now this one needs to have a specific name so that this starter jigsaw block can find it by specifying the target name here. I want to make sure this is clear because we are using jigsaw blocks in kind of a weird way in our structures. Just remember that when jigsaw blocks connect, it's going to be from some starter structure and another jigsaw block will be placed from a target structure. So our target pool that we've specified here shows us that we're expecting to generate some kind of room, and that this room will be of size 2 by 3, and that's again going along our grid system here. This room, which was an example that we're working with right now, is a 2 by 3 space, and then it has 2 door frames, one on edge 4 and one on edge 9, and each door frame can be generated on either the bottom floor, the middle floor, or the top floor, meaning that this room is short enough to generate on any of the 3 floors in our cube. Okay, so let's talk about these 6 jigsaw blocks here. So these will be the thing that connects to our starter jigsaw block. So again, these have to have a very specific name, and that's why there are 6 of them, to cover the different possibilities of where this floor can generate height-wise, and also to identify how we want to use the jigsaw blocks. So let's just take a look at the bottom corner here. So every jigsaw block that is connected to a door frame, I've just called piece. Then I specify if this jigsaw block is generating a room that has a frame on the bottom floor, or can have a frame on the bottom floor, and where this frame is in relation to the room. So this stands for 2 squares deep and 2 squares from the left. So the room relative to this frame is 2 squares deep, right? And then it also extends 2 blocks, including this initial square that the jigsaw block is placed on, 2 squares to the left. And so likewise, this one right above it has the same, it's in the same place in the room, obviously, so we have 2 squares deep and 2 squares to the left, but this one will be responsible for generating the frame on the middle floor. And then lastly, this one on the top will be on the top floor. And so we do the same thing on the other side here. So this has, again, T for top, but this time, instead of 2D to L, we have 2D to R, which means 2 to the right, so second from the right. And as you can guess with the last remaining 2, we have a M for middle, and then B for bottom floor. Now remember, we're doing it this way because we identify rooms by their size, right, and their door frames. So this structure is going to fall in the 2 by 3 room size with a door frame on edge 4 and edge 9. Now, when we're generating the rooms with jigsaw blocks, we don't care like what edge we're on because this room could be rotated in certain directions. We just need to know where it is relative to the space of the room that is being generated. Hopefully that makes sense. So to help drive this point home, I'm gonna fly over here to some other rooms that are also 2x3 that also have door frames on edge 4 and edge 9, but may just look a little different on the inside. You'll notice, again, 6 jigsaw blocks, and these all have, again, the exact same name because they're placed in the exact same place in the structure. Okay, so over here in our data pack, let's go ahead and create the template pool for these rooms. So we have our namespace, worldgen, and then template pool, and then in here we have another folder, rooms. I've already started working on a few others, so let's do this one together. So we're going to say new folder, and this is 2x3. This will be a new file, so we'll say it's 4 bottom middle top 9 bottom middle top .json. Okay, so here in our template pool, I've added the 4 structures. So we have dual spawners, a dispensary, dripstone, pit, and a small hall. So the small hall was the one that we started looking at the beginning. Dual spawners is what we just saw. You haven't seen these two yet, so hopefully we'll see those when we start using this template pool. But you can see that every element here starts with rooms 2x3, 4 bottom middle top, because they're all the same size and they all have the same frames in the same location. So this tells us that they should all have the same jigsaw block name in the same place. Okay, so I've saved those 4 rooms and I've moved them over into this blank world here. If I do /place jigsaw and I look for our template pool, you see there it is. And now we specify a target. So for right now, this can be any of those 6 jigsaw blocks that we specified. As we go along here, you'll start to see why we've included all 6 of those. But for now, let's just use our first one. Oops. 2 depth and 2 deep and 2 to the left. And then max depth we'll just put as like 7, and we'll just generate it here. So this should pick one of our 4 rooms. There we go. Okay, this is one that you haven't seen yet. This is a dripstone pit. And so we have some jigsaw blocks that will also place some decoration. So we got some lapis here. It looks like we also have some red sand down there. But yeah, this room's pretty fun. You just have to, walk across or jump across without falling like that. But if we just fly around somewhere far away and generate it again, well, this time we got a different room. This is the dispensary, so this fills it up with different dispensers with different things. Oh my gosh, there we go. Okay, so what we've managed to do so far is run a command that generates a room, but what we'll need is this. So we start with a path structure that generates a blueprint that is the same size as the path structure, and this blueprint will generate smaller blueprints down until it is the size of a single room. And so when we're just generating the path, we don't know how many steps down it's going to go until it finds a room, because given this big space, we could fill it up with one big room or fill it up with 2 small blueprints or smaller, blueprints that can generate rooms that size, or even smaller blueprints which generate even smaller rooms, until the initial path structure is filled up with some kind of route built up of different rooms connected from one entry point to the next. Okay, so check it out. Here is the blueprint that is the same size as those rooms. We have 3 jigsaw blocks in here. This one, which is the one responsible for generating the room itself. So we'll look in that target pool that we just created. And it doesn't matter which of the 6 jigsaw blocks we use. I'm just using this one. And then we have 2 structure blocks here that both do the same thing. These act as the named jigsaw blocks that will be used for other blueprints or the path to know where to place this blueprint structure. And since this structure is symmetrical, it doesn't matter if we place it this way or that way, so that's why these 2 are the exact same. Okay, now we're gonna get a little bit into the whole reason why we're doing it this way. And the big reason is reusability. So in this case, now I have a 2x4 structure with a door frame here and a door frame there. Now those are the same place relative to each other as our previous example of a 2x3. However, this room is just, an extra 2 squares over too big. But that's okay, because what we can do is create a blueprint that is a 2x4, and it has those 2 same entry hallway points. Now, because the door frames are off-centered, this one is not symmetric, and so there's only one entry starter blueprint jigsaw block. However, this jigsaw block is named the exact same thing that we just saw. However, it does use a different target pool, this time in a 2x4 room with the edges at 5 and 10. Now that's not a problem because the name of the target block is what's important. We can generate any kind of room in this blueprint that is either a 2x4 or a 2x3, as long as if that structure has that jigsaw block in it. And that's why you'll commonly see 6 jigsaw blocks per door frame. It gives me the flexibility to create a blueprint that matches either the left side or the right side, and allows me to specify if this room is either too big, like too tall, or too deep, I guess, like this one's pretty deep, to fit in whatever we're generating right now. And we can see that template pool right here. So this is the template pool for a 2x4 size room with door frames on the 5th and 10th edge. And so here I have a room that fits that size exactly, but I've also added the 4 rooms that we previously had that are 2x3 because they also have door frames that fit our specifications. In other words, all of these rooms have a door frame that is 2 squares deep and 2 squares to the right, and still fit within a 2x4 area space. And what we can even do is assign a higher weight to the larger rooms so that they are more likely to generate instead of breaking down into smaller and smaller rooms. But this gives us that flexibility as long as if we keep track of which rooms have which puzzle pieces in it. Okay, so that was taking a look at how things generate from small to big. We're going to take a look now at kind of the reverse way, starting large, our final size, and then breaking it down into smaller pieces. So we've got a jigsaw block here, and that is for our path system, and these jigsaw blocks are 1 block under the ground floor, so this is where the floor will generate for our rooms. And on the ground level, we have the jigsaw blocks that will generate the blueprints. So we can see for this path structure, we're going to be pulling a blueprint that is 5 squares by 6 squares that has door frame at edge 3 on the middle floor and edge 14 on the bottom, and that's the one that we're looking at right now. And so because 5 by 6 squares on our grid system here is such a big space to work with, we can divide it up in several different ways. So I've got just 2 examples here. So these are each 5 by 6, and again, these blueprints are 30 blocks tall because we need to be specific with where the height is for when we're generating our frames. So 7 blocks up, again, that's our buffer below our 3 floors. And then this black bar represents the ground level. So this is where we'll be walking around in our rooms. And it looks weird right now, but this jigsaw block is the one that will connect to the jigsaw block that we just looked at in the path structure. So when this blueprint generates, if it's the one that we pick, then it will connect here and then also run this jigsaw block, which will look for a blueprint size 3x4 with a door frame on edge 6 and 12 in that 3x4 square or rectangle. So while this is technically a 3x5 area, just for how this blueprint is generating rooms inside of it, I've decided to let it pick just from a 4x3 area. But this way, it allows us to do this funny little trick here where we have another jigsaw block right here on the opposite edge that pulls from the same target pool, same template pool, and with the same blueprint name, but will generate instead of this space here where these corners are outlined, it will just be flipped. So flip this 180 and so it will stick out on this side instead. And then because this blueprint has a change in height, I've just added a little stupid staircase here. This block just makes sure that there's air right here, so the player has room to run up these stairs. And then we come up to this section, which is where we're using our 2x4 blueprint path, and doing that same trick again where we have 2 blueprint jigsaw blocks that pull from the same template pool, but are just flipped. So we'll either fill up this space or this space. Yeah, kind of hard to draw an outline with just my face. Okay, so now I want to show you guys how the dead end structures can be used. We took a look at this room a little bit last episode. This is our purple tetroid piece. So it has 3 door frames. And the important thing is that it does have a door frame right here that is relative to another door frame right here, which is exactly what we want for the bottom half of our blueprint right now. And so it does have a piece 3 deep and 2 to the right. So technically, not technically, but really we should be able to generate this room just fine as long as if we seal up that other entrance here. So we've got another structure here, and this is a dead end structure, and this tells me that it's for a 3x3 room, and then this kind of tells me more specifically what room and what door frame entryway it's removing. So it's removing the frame on the second edge. And so back in our data pack here, we could go to our template pool for our 3x4 rooms that have these 2 entry points. And down here we can add a list pool element. And so we have the room right here, and then we have our dead end. And so this is all in a list. So we have the room first and then the dead end. So this will generate the dead end structure right where it generates this guy. So we'll generate this first and then place this in the exact same spot. I also set the weight to something ridiculously high just so we can see that in action. Okay, so I've saved everything and moved it over. So back in this world again, if I do /place jigsaw, let's see, it should be blueprint 5x6, this one. Make sure to spell it correctly this time. And just place it right here. So we can see we have a similar idea here. We have the staircase, this room, and then this one, which is our little tetroid piece. But this wall is blocked off, so this doesn't go anywhere. And to wrap things up for this example, I'll start generating from the path structure. And this will use the magma blocks in place of all the structure void blocks. There we go. So we can see everything's nicely tucked in and kind of decorated properly. And so if I just come in here and use a different processor, such as yellow volt path instead of nothing, now when I run the same command, it should, instead of magma blocks, we now have the yellow glazed wood. That gives us a nice trim to show us that we are on the yellow volt path. So now I have to go through and make just a bunch of blueprints that use the rooms that we've created. And I'm definitely trying to stick to a build it as I need it kind of mentality, because there's an infinite number of ways that we can divide blueprints up into different segments with different rooms. But yeah, so these are the typical sizes of path structures. I've just made them basically as big as I can. Luckily, making blueprints isn't typically that time consuming. It's just a matter of making sure everything is typed up correctly in our JSON files. Oh, you'll be surprised how many little typos you can make while inputting stuff into jigsaw blocks over and over. But yeah, so that's it for this episode. I'll be working on that off camera. Next episode, we may talk a little bit more about the paths, or how we generate multiple tombs at once using dimensions, which is pretty exciting. Lots still to do, but we are making progress. I hope you guys are enjoying this series, and I will catch you next time. Bye-bye.